Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's episode of the podcast, I welcome back a very special guest. She is a Wyzetta hockey legend and is currently a sophomore on the Clarkson women's hockey team. Greta Branton, welcome back to the podcast, and how's everything going?
It's going good. It's going good. It's been a good season so far, and thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so excited to have you back on and talk a little bit about your college hockey career because last time we had you on, you hadn't even played your first game yet. So, looking forward to diving into how things have been going since we last talked.
Yep, can't wait.
Now, obviously, your team just started the second half of the season, and you guys are a top 10 team at the time of this recording. So, how would you evaluate your team's performance as of now?
We're definitely a strong, fast team this year. We've come a long way since the beginning of the year. We've had ups and a few downs, but we're going to continue to rise and strive and hopefully be the best team coming out of the ECAC this second half and kind of go towards the national championship.
Yeah, and obviously, how do you handle the pressure of being a ranked team and sort of just how do you maintain the consistency? Because it seems like as of late, you guys been putting together a lot of good weekends, which is a hard thing to do, especially in the ECAC.
Yeah, I would say kind of holding that pride that our alums have built for us and kind of bringing that program up and continue to be champions is what we say. I believe like a few key components would be like our relationships on and off the ice because it helps to like ease the pressure when you know your team's always got your back. And I also think like the competition between one another at practice kind of makes us better when the big games come along.
That's good to hear. And obviously, just talk a little bit about what it's like playing in the ECAC every single weekend and what's the competition like. Because, in my opinion, I think it's the deepest conference this year. Like, there's five or six really solid teams that could make the tournament. But because of the pairwise and how many teams actually can make the tournament, I feel like only three or four of those teams will actually get in. So, just talk about just the conference and the competition that you face and how it's developed since your freshman year to now.
Oh yeah, for sure. This conference is definitely hard, but it's beatable. I'd say the competition only like gets harder as the season kind of continues here, but every team brings it every night, no matter where they're ranked or anything. It's just about us elevating our game. There's little rivalries and competitions for every team we face in the ECAC. It's just that competitive of an atmosphere between all of us, I'd say.
Yeah, and what's been like the biggest adjustment you've had to make to college hockey? Has it been the speed of the game, physicality, or just the decision making, since the game is a lot more quicker?
Yeah, exactly. I'd say probably making the quicker plays, making the simple plays. Don't try to do too much because it's just harder on yourself and your teammates. The game is fast, the girls are strong. You just have to make the smarter play and keep a team on their heels.
Now, how have you tried to balance both academics and hockey at such a high level? Because that's one adjustment that is very difficult for a lot of student athletes when they head into their first year. I think we might have talked about it a little bit when we last had you on. I'm curious how that adjustment went for yourself and how do you manage your time with hockey in school?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. This past semester was actually pretty good for me, but it does get tricky leaving on Thursday, like because sometimes you leave Thursday morning if you got like a long bus ride down. But teachers here at Clarkson are pretty understanding. Just gotta make sure you keep up with your work and turn things in at a reasonable time. It's also really good for like teammates, like being on the road because, especially like older ones, because they can answer your questions or like help you out if they've taken the class before.
Yeah, and talk about the improvements you've made to your game on the ice from your freshman year to now.
I would say being stronger on pucks. It's tricky coming in and not being one of the strongest on the teams, but I did come over the summer. I did put in the work. I'm building my strength. I'm bearing down on pucks, and it also helps to have like a really good trainer out here that puts us all to work every week, every day. It's good.
Yeah, and obviously, what were some of the things, I guess, drills that you worked on in the off season to improve that strength and those puck skills like you were talking about? I'm just curious about it. Is it more just like lifting weights and working out, or is there any like on ice skills that you do to improve that?
Yeah, I'd say lifting weights. I mean, always in the weight room, it can be something to work on, but like on the rink, we're always like battling each other, which like can bring up like our strength and our efforts and all of that.
Now let's talk about some of the big moments that have happened so far for your team this year. You guys got to play in Lake Placid during October. I just want to ask how cool that trip was and what you took away from that experience.
That was definitely probably one of the coolest experiences because Lake Placid is just hands down one of the most beautiful places I've been. And then playing hockey there just kind of puts the cherry on top. We took like walks down from our hotel, like down into the city, and it was just breathtaking. And luckily, we kind of got good weather there, and it wasn't really snowy or anything. And then it was a fun tournament ending playing St. Lawrence, our rival in the championship, and winning, and I think we all enjoyed ourselves.
That's good. That's good. Are you a big Miracle on Ice fan? Because that must be cool to be a fan of that and be at the place where it happened.
Yeah, it was. It was super cool actually, like to be on the ice and you could like skate around and see all the names from Miracle. And I think it just kind of like shows like how cool of a place you're actually skating in.
Did you get to see the locker room by any chance? Like I know they have the whole Herb Brooks speech like on the door, but I'm curious if you guys got to actually like use that locker room.
No, no, sadly we didn't, but like it was closed off for us. We just kind of had this one space where like all the teams in the tournament were laid out and you could only get in with like a pass. Like no one was really welcome to like come in and out, but super cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is that one of your favorite movies, Miracle? Because I can quote that movie for like days. There's so many great scenes.
Oh yeah, it's definitely up there for one of them and I can quote the movie too like when it comes on like the speech when they're giving out like probably like 10 out of 10 times I'll quote that word for word.
Yeah, if that doesn't fire you up, I don't know what will. Honestly, I like the other stuff too. Like the bag skating thing is probably one of my favorite scenes. I had a youth coach one time who told me like if I could bag skate you guys like they did in the movie, like I wish I could do that, but they won't let me do that anymore. So that's the one. And then the one with Jim Craig where he like is upset because he might switch goalies, and Jim Craig's like, "Oh, it's because I didn't take the test," and then he turns around, and he's like, "Oh, I want to see the goalie that didn't take the test." And there's
Yeah.
just so many. There's just or when Herb Brooks after they win against the Soviet Union where he's just like yes, like all alone in the locker room. There was just so many good spots. It's just a good quotable fun movie to watch.
Exactly, exactly. And it kind of just brings up like the hockey atmosphere and like what it's all about. And I've watched it since I was a kid. So,
Oh yeah, I still watch it. I need to put it on just to hype myself up a little bit if you need any motivation. So
exactly.
what's been your favorite rink to play in road wise? Obviously Shield is, but I'm curious if there's been any rinks that you've enjoyed playing in.
Oh, yeah. I would definitely say Princeton just because it's like the barn type of feeling that I like to play in. It kind of brings out the school's like culture a little bit, and it's very cool just to kind of like go on the ice and like have your anthems out there. But it doesn't have the best warm up space for us because it's kind of like short on the sides, but we always make it work.
Yeah, I heard that's one of the oldest, or if not the oldest rink in all of college hockey. I know they just celebrated like their 100th year anniversary or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that on social media. That's super cool for them.
Now, talk about what's like playing at Shield Arena because I've been told it's one of the best atmospheres in college hockey, especially for women's college hockey. And I saw the clip of when the former Olympians came back, and that place seemed like it was erupting. It was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, it's definitely probably the coolest ring to play at. We've got our pep band. Our pep band is definitely hands down the best in the league. Um, and they know how to get a game going for us. When the Olympians came back, it was probably the best experience because it shows like who built our program and who we need to make proud every game we have. They got banners on one of our side walls that we keep up all the time, and it's just like one of those moments that you watch that you'll never forget.
Have you had the chance to talk to any of the Olympians like after the game or before the game just to hear their perspective on their time at Clarkson?
Yeah, it was more of before the game. We got to see all of them and talk to all of them while we had lunch, and then we got to see just a few of them after the game. But it was more kind of talking during lunch, and they talked about their experience, and they even had their medals with them, which was really cool.
What advice did they give you, or is that like private information, or is there like what was the conversations like with you? I'm just curious.
It was more just like you need to have fun, kind of let loose, play free. Like that's what they are motivated by.
Nice, nice. Well, talk about your goals and expectations for the rest of this season. And obviously, you guys want to win the ECAC and make it to the national tournament. But is there any goals that are on your radar that fans might not be aware of?
Yeah, so definitely that ECAC champ and the Natty champ is right on the radar, but it's like the process for us to get there. And I think there's a few goals, like we have to continue to build off of our last game and elevate as a team, and then beat those teams that are ahead of us right now. And it will just kind of all come together for us, is what we're hoping here.
Now, last season, you guys did make the national tournament. And even though the game didn't go your team's way, I'm curious what you took away from that experience that has helped you out for this year.
Yeah, it was just super cool experience. It's kind of cool to say, yeah, I'm in the national tournament, like no big deal. But like on a more serious note, we worked our butts off to get there and for that Wisco game. But even though that didn't go our way, if we get that opportunity again, I think we're going to come out with the win because we've all learned from it and we all kind of grew from it.
Yeah, and obviously, I think you guys were like the last team in, so you really had to work hard, but also wait a little bit nervously as well for that whole process. I'm curious what that's like, just waiting for hopefully some of the results to go your way.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the video, but there was a video of all of us in the locker room, and we're kind of just sitting there, like watching them name off the teams, and it's like, come on, like we know it, come on, give it to us. And when it did, it was like one of the best feelings we had.
Now, you guys have gotten a lot of new players, including yourself, in the past 2 years. I'm curious, talk about those players that you get to play with, like Haley Wynn, Kristen McQuigg, Paige Hall, and just talk about the impact that they have had on your team, because I feel like your team has a good mix of both younger and older players, and I feel like that's why it's been successful this year because you guys work well together.
Yeah, I love these players. I love that I get a chance to play and compete with them. I know other teams just kind of hate playing against these players because in mini games during practice, these players kind of bring out all of our competitive side. But they are like the sweetest and kindest people you could ever meet. I'm very close with Haley Wynn, so I find her to be a super nice and a great leader for our team.
Yeah, and I'm curious, is what's the dynamic like for like I know you guys have a lot of Canadians and Americans on the team. I'm curious whenever Canada and USA play each other in big tournaments during the year, what's that dynamic like?
Yeah, it's definitely really funny just because we'll all like watch the game together, and we have more Canadians. I don't know. I think we have like 7, 8 Americans on the team, but we cheer so loud. And when Haley actually went out there and competed out in Washington, I believe, and Seattle like area, and when we were cheering her on, I know the Canadians cheered on the United States too, so it was good.
That's awesome. Obviously, you guys support one of your teammates as well, so that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Now, one of the most impressive victories for your team this year, in my opinion, was when you guys beat Princeton on the road. I'm assuming that's a big reason why you enjoy Hobie Breaker a lot. So just talk about that victory and what it meant for your team. And does it compare to other road victories you had during your freshman year, like the one you had against Colgate or the one you had against Quinnipiac?
Yeah, I think that win was great for us because we all wanted it so bad. We knew what we had to do coming into the game, playing the game more defensively to keep them off the scoreboard. I know with that 1-0 victory, but those Colgate and QPAC victories from last year are coming this year. So I think we can just like move off of that game and should give us more confidence going into this next second half of the season playing those top teams like Colgate and QPAC.
I have a question for you. What obviously Colgate has so many talented players along with Quinnipiac, but what do you think makes them such good teams to play against, and why are they so hard to play against from your perspective?
I think one of the things is they all kind of play the same way. They have the same drive and just like always coming on the ice, knowing what to do. And that's just like, it can get irritating for some teams, but it's kind of when your team works together and your team is smarter and plays better than them, we're going to come out with a win. And I think we know how to do it.
And one thing I've noticed about your team is how physical you guys are. I'm curious if that's a playing style that you guys work on, or does it sort of just happen?
Yeah, we definitely are a very physical team, and we kind of strive to be like that. We are strong, and we compete with that edge to win every loose puck battle. You should see us during practice. We all kind of go at it with one another, but I think that's what makes the team so strong and physical because it translates into our games.
Yeah, I know. Remember last time we had you on, you talked about that big hit that you had against Edina. Any big hits in college hockey as of yet?
Not yet. I'd say I'm more on the end of kind of being little and sneaky and getting through people instead of being more
Yeah,
physical right now.
as long as you're not receiving any hits. Does that ever happen?
You know, it happens a few times, but it's you pop back up and you
hmm
keep going because that's just kind of how the game is right now.
Yeah, it's like you said though, you had that big one against Edina. I don't know if people, I guess tell the people who didn't listen to the episode a couple years ago just what happened because it's one of my favorite stories from the pod because it was like a complete accident.
Yeah, it's definitely just not not something that comes to mind every day, but it's just kind of a big hit that kept our team going and kept our team moving, and I think we didn't I don't think we won that game, but we were very close, I should say.
Yeah,
'Cause
you said it was like behind the net, you didn't see her and you just ran into her, right? Or something
yep,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah, that stuff happens though. I sort of like the physicality. I think I don't know, I feel like personally the reason why I think hitting should be allowed in women's hockey, and I feel like I talked to you about this last time, is for refereeing purposes because I feel like some refs are strict about it, some refs aren't, and I feel like one rule shouldn't affect how a game is played because if a ref's strict about it, they can call a lot of penalties, and if a team has a good power play but they're not that good 5-on-5, they can use that to their advantage. But then if a ref's like super loose about it, then maybe some teams can get away with some dirty play and they can use that to their advantage. I feel like if you just get rid of the rule and if people know how to do it, it'll make the game a little more fair, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially when you don't know what you're gonna get from the refs every night, because sometimes we have the same refs and it's like, oh, they're gonna call everything on us or they're gonna call absolutely nothing. And it's like we don't know which way the game's gonna go until someone makes a hit or someone does something, then
hmm
then you can tell.
Exactly. So we're now in the segment I like to call the non-hockey segment to get is where I try to get to know you a little bit more. Obviously, since we had you on a couple of years ago, I try to find just some random questions on the internet that I feel like would be interesting for many people to hear what you have to say about. So, first one is, what is the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
This one was pretty tricky for me, I would say, but I'm kind of into like the Idaho murder kind of case that's happening right now, just because it kind of blew up this past week with finding a suspect. I think I find it interesting because it's college kids and it's like kind of like what like I am right now. And one of my old friends had knew the surviving roommate, one of the surviving roommates, and it's just kind of fascinating to me in general, I'd say.
Yeah, I think the scariest part about it is there could be someone out there that doesn't you don't know exists but can hurt you, and that's sort of what
Yeah.
freaks me out about it.
Oh yeah, very, very scary stuff and prayers for their families and everything. But I know me and my roommates here have been locking our doors now and but it's interesting. It's interesting to kind of have and kind of give you a wake up call.
I feel like you could fight some of them off though. You guys are hockey players, so
Oh yeah, for sure. If anything, we could defend them.
yeah. The thing that I found the most interesting this week was there was like some cyber attack that shut down like airplane. I don't know what it's called, computers, and flights had to be canceled from it. And that freaks me out because people don't realize like if someone can hack into a lot of different things and it can basically ruin how our daily lives work. Like if someone hacks into like something financial, people can lose their money. It's sort of like a scary thing to think about for me. So I've been trying not to
Yeah.
think about it too much, but I sort of find it interesting in some ways.
Oh yeah, and to wrap your head around things like that is just kind of scary and especially if you're like flying, like I
hmm
have to fly home to Minnesota, like those things can get hacked so easily. It's scary, scary stuff.
Oh, for sure, for sure. What is the most spontaneous thing you've ever done?
This one is kind of funny. I would probably say when me and 12 of my teammates last year went to Aruba, we booked the flight and then a day later we were down there. But it was definitely one of the best trips, hands down. In Aruba on the beach with your best friends, and it was my birthday that week too. And so my teammates made it special, and it was probably one of the best to remember.
That's awesome. I've never done anything super spontaneous. I like to plan things out because I'm very OCD. So probably just going to a hockey game like that day that I'm like, "Oh, I want to go," and I just go. So that's sort of my most spontaneous thing. I'm a boring guy, so I apologize for that.
No, it's okay. You don't need to be spontaneous all the time.
What is the hardest class you've ever taken?
It's gotta be anatomy. I know it's a just sounds horrible, but I would study for those tests for hours, and still when those would get passed out to me, it's like I have no idea what I'm about to write.
Exactly. I understand that. That for me, that was math. Quantitative reasoning, that was the name of the class. It was the hardest B I've ever worked for in my life. So I'm proud of that B. It's just funny to me because like I feel like I haven't worked as hard for some A's in other classes than I did for that B in that class.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get that. I take stats this coming semester, and so hopefully that goes as planned.
Exactly. I just once are you done with math that they're after this semester?
Yep, after the semester, it's just stats, and then I'm good. I'm done.
Awesome. Awesome. I was so happy when I finally got that class done because I was done with math. So I understand why they sort of want you to take it, but at the same time, it's like I just took this in high school. Why do I need to take it again?
Yeah, like why? I don't understand.
What is your idea of the perfect day? Like if someone said you could do whatever you want, what would that day look like?
I would probably say I'm on the beach in like Florida or something with my friends and my family, and my dog has to be there. And just spending the day in the sun and swimming in the ocean, and then like having like a nice dinner oceanside, just kind of electronic free. Sounds
That's
perfect.
good. That's good. I think for me, probably going to a hockey game. I don't know. I always enjoy going to those, obviously, since I have the podcast, but probably just going to that and then like maybe like having like dinner with my family after the game or something like that. So that would be my perfect day.
Yeah, that does sound great. I've been watching a lot of hockey, just like Minnesota Wild. I've been keeping up with them since I've been home and now back, but I do love watching hockey as well.
How are they doing this year?
They're pretty good. They had a good roll going there for a while. They were like 16-2 for a while or something like that, and it was really fun to watch them at home. And I went to two of their games, and I did enjoy myself, and I watched them with my dad, which was really nice.
That's awesome. Which teams did they play for those two games you went to?
Ottawa and then Buffalo.
Oh, Buffalo has been my favorite team to watch this year. They're just such a fun team. I hope they make the playoffs. There's just something about them, and I think Tage Thompson is one of the most underrated NHL players this year.
I agree with that. I saw Ottawa and Buffalo actually play up here in Ottawa. We went, so
That's cool. That's cool. Maybe Ottawa's following you. I don't know.
yeah, I know, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, no, DeBrincat's another fun player to watch too from them.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, who has the best style on the Clarkson women's hockey team? Greta, I think it's you, hands down. I love the hats that you bring out. I really enjoy your outfits. I think they're the best. But if you had to pick, who would be your who has the best pregame
Yeah.
outfits?
I would definitely say Gabrielle David because she just kind of knows how to bring the style, bring the color, and when she like walks into our dry stall area after getting that little walk in, everyone's like, "Ooh!" Like we all know like she's coming in with a good outfit every day.
And then she scores like 2 goals that night
Oh
too.
yeah, and then she'll get a hat trick.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Who's the funniest player on the team?
Funniest player? I gotta say probably Andy Prue. She's very funny. She's kind of got that little sense of humor that no one knows is coming, and it just kind of is like, whoa, there it is, and well, we'll get a kick out of it.
Who is the most underrated female ECAC player?
I would definitely say like either Brooke McQuigg or Bailey Kerwin, just because they have that little drive and they can sneak up on teams. They know when to put up points for our team when needed, and I also know Bailey knows how to chirp, which can get under teams' heads.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Uh, which teammate has the best social media?
I gotta say Ashlyn Ham or Hammer, just she knows how to do TikTok and she's very like aesthetic and pleasing with her content.
Now, what is one item on your bucket list that you want to achieve?
We actually just talked about this all as a team, and I said I want to see the Eiffel Tower in the next 5 years because I love Paris, and I'm learning some French from our French Canadians on the team, so I think it'd be a cool experience overall for me.
I guess for me, probably like learn a different language. I think that sort of goes along with what you want to do. I want to learn how to speak Spanish because I learned that like 75% of USA people from the USA, they speak either English or Spanish. And I feel like that would just be very beneficial for myself to speak both languages because then I can commute with pretty much everyone who lives in this country. So that's probably what I would pick. And then, yeah, I can't really think of anything else. I just success in my life, I guess. I don't know if that's a counts as a bucket list item, but just success.
Yeah, yeah. I took AP Spanish in high school, and I mean I loved it to take AP, but I probably couldn't say a full sentence now that it's just all over my head.
Yeah, nosotros, vosotros. I don't know what the other one is, but there's like
Yeah,
different
all
ones
of
that,
those little
yeah,
conjugations that we have to do. Oh yeah.
yeah. Now, getting back to some hockey questions now, I guess podcast questions, but what were your thoughts on the podcast since we last had you on? I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I just think this is a very neat kind of thing to do. It has grown a lot, I would say, since the last time because it was kind of just getting going when we
Hmm.
talked. I think it's a positive impact and shows like players' experience so far in college, and then like the new players coming in and they're like their questions, what their feelings are, and it's just like I'm very grateful to be able to speak on it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I'm very proud of the platform that I guess I built. I never expected it to be as big as it is now, so which is pretty cool. And it's awesome getting players on like yourself, Greta, because I really feel like you're one of the more underrated players in the ECAC and just in women's college hockey in general. And I like that I have a platform where I can have you on and sort of help people know who you are. And that's something that I'm very proud that I built. And it's cool that I get to help you out in a small way.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
No problem. Well, any guests that we should have on in the future, I'm curious, from your team or from maybe from
Yeah.
Wyzetta.
Yeah. I gotta say from like Clarkson here, it'd be definitely Bailey Kerwin just because she's a super strong, good hockey player, and even like Andy Prue, she's just a strong voice for our team, and I think she'd be a great guest to have.
Awesome. Well, definitely, we definitely have to wait because I don't like to use the same team all the time, but we'll definitely try to get them on in the near future. But I know last time you had some shout outs. If there's any shout outs you might have forgotten about, feel free to say those. But if there's anything else you want to talk about, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, I don't know about shout outs here, but I would just kind of say like for any athletes in their freshman years of college right now that probably aren't going their way, I'd say probably don't give up. The opportunities will come. Like put your head down, go to work because from experience and for me, I promise you'll see a good outcome.
Well, thank you once again, Greta, for coming on the podcast again. I really appreciate it. I admire you a lot as a player. Like I said, I think you're one of the more underrated players on the team, but I think you're one of the best people I've ever met. You're super nice, and that really means a lot to me. So I just want to let you know that. But take care, stay safe, and I wish you nothing but the best for the rest of this season and in future endeavors as well. And hopefully, we can have you back on the summer to talk about the rest of the year.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, one